Bigger, bolder, faster. Boom, I'm going to the maximum. I'm going to the maximum. I'm going to the maximum.
Hi, hello. Oh, now it's quiet, yeah? All right, I know that we are a little bit behind the shadow, so without further ado, should I do a little bit of introduction of each and every one of you guys, or you guys are good with that?
Up to you.
Actually, I believe that I can say this out loud. By now, I know every one of them personally, you know. So, Ida, we shared stage together before, previously. Dato Arai, because we are both Malaysian, obviously, so we know each other. And Marvin was such a nice guy. We had a good chat on the opening evening, you know. The money guy, I would say, yeah. All right. Allow me to just deviate from the preset question, if you guys don't mind. Let's talk about CBDC. So I would like to ask Ida, probably, what is your take on CBDC? Let's roll this out with a bit of a controversial topic, I would say.
How many regulators here? What do I think about CBDCs? Okay. CBDC is generally a form of digital currency which is being backed by and controlled by a central bank in a country. So in other sense, it's basically a closed-circuited, what we call a closed-circuited currency. So have that in your mind first, which is different from stable coins. Stable coins are basically peg tokens to a international currency like US dollars. So one USDC equals one US dollars. Again, have that in your mind. So with this, what do I think about CBDCs? Increasingly, a lot of countries is now looking into this because of this open currency system that is being introduced by virtue of the blockchain technology, because it allows currencies, cryptocurrencies, to move outside the closed circuit and move elsewhere. So most countries sees that as a threat because of liquidity issues, transaction issues, and as well as touching on payments. So hence, their way of, in a way, experimenting and curtailing it is to introduce their own digital form of closed-circuited currency, which is one of them, CBDC. So from a DeFi person here, I think CBDCs is something that you cannot fight. It is going to happen. Do I agree with it? It all depends on the programming metrics that goes inside the CBDC. Just to give you an example, in China, there has been a suggestion that in order to encourage liquidity, so when I mean by that means transactions, make people use the CBDC, use the money, the digital money, they were thinking of putting an expiry period in in the CBDC. So if you don't use it, if you don't pay it, if you don't transact it, you technically lose it, okay? Now I'm gonna stop there because I know all of you are adults. Their argument is that this promotes liquidity. Once liquidity happens, the economy becomes stable because you need volume, you need transaction. But I'm going to leave this with you, now that you know what it is for you to then ponder with that concept. Is that actually good?
All right, thank you, Ida. Next, I want to ask Marvin, what is your sentiment now towards CBDC?
Okay, piggybacking on what Ida said, right? I think it's fiat in the blockchain with lesser privacy more controls, and there's a reason why we're all here. We like Bitcoin. We like the ability to self-custody.
Do you like the part where more control is?
No, yeah, but the reason why you go to crypto is that you can take control of your own destiny. If you go the CBDC route, suddenly you leave control of the assets that you actually have as well. So, like anything else, it could be good, it could be bad. If it's in the expiry, I think it's a bit scary also, or the controls on up to when you can use your money. Because at the end of the day, it's your money, it's your asset. It should be you who should dictate what should happen to it, where should it go, where could you save it, and where it could actually go eventually. So I think it allows governments where there's a bit of more authoritarian regime or more stricter regimes that they can control the supply of how money is, and it removes the freedom of the usage of money for its citizens. And that's why stablecoins, Bitcoin gives people the ability to have freedom on their own. So it's totally different from what the idea of cryptocurrency is. It's totally different from the ideology of assets running on the blockchain. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, next one, Dato Arai. If you were given an opportunity to be part of the government setting up committee to roll out this CBDC, what would you suggest for the government to do so that the public will have a better acceptance towards CBDC?
Okay, thank you, Mo. First of all, I would like to praise something. First, they will ignore you. Second, they will try to fight you. And at the end, they will follow you. That's the meaning of CBDC. Because, no doubt, we have to be agree that all of us here today, because of Bitcoin, because of Satoshi Nakamoto.
That was the fundamental.
So we have to read back the first white paper of Satoshi Nakamoto, the first phrase of the abstract. So Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin. The main reason is to create a peer-to-peer electronic cash so that it allows direct payment without going through financial institution. So that's the meaning of Bitcoin. So do you think CBDC will get something for us?
Well, it depends, because if you are a government, you obviously have somewhat of authority, because when we talk about CBDC, it's very much tied up to the central bank. You know, so when they roll out, I believe not so much of the option as a user or as a citizen of respected. So again, back to you, Dato. Do you think that, what if we were forced to accept it as a user or as someone who have a very deep understanding of how does this work? What would you suggest to the government, again to the authority, so that the public wouldn't feel as scared? Like you said, like if you put an expiry on a certain amount that you can use, you know, like for example, not just expiry, for example, I'll give you X amount of money, let's say $1,000, you can only buy milk and eggs up to December 2020. December 2022. So how do we remove this kind of fear?
Yeah, I think.
I mean, what would you suggest to the authority so that the public will be more accommodating when this is proposed to the public?
Yeah, I think why CBDC come into the picture because of the technology. So we do understand that the financial system need something that can be transferred online real times without borderless transparency. Blockchain and cryptocurrency is the only solution for government for that. No doubt about it.
I just want to say this. To all of us, it's a concern, but to 90+% of the population, they don't really know it. It might seem like something convenient for them. I think those that are concerned about it are those who know what Bitcoin can actually do and what it actually disrupts. So to all of them, I have something that's more efficient already, that I don't need to use paper cash anymore to be able to make a transaction. It's easier. So for, I think, everyone, it's easier for those who have not heard about crypto, stable, or Bitcoin to understand it, or they'll easily accept it. But to those who are early adopters of what Bitcoin actually is, they're the ones that could actually compare what Bitcoin gives versus what CBDCs have.
So basically, can I put it this way? The convenience will supersede the so-called fear or whatnot. Is that safe to say that? the convenience of, because Marvin highlighted a very good point. I mean, not 90 over percent people don't really care about the technology as much, you know, as long as if it is convenient, you know, for them, it wouldn't be a trouble to begin with.
I guess this really brings back to you have CBDC, which is a form of a digital token. It's closed-circuited. Okay. The deployment of the CBDC has to go on a platform. Now the question is that platform a public blockchain? As far as I know, it is not. None of them that I know is not. Hence, the lack of transparency, hence the lack of openness there. The next thing is that to understand what blockchain and how blockchain operates is that, because we talked about, is the consensus model. Where does the consensus model come from? From the nodes, from the validators. It needs to have 51% consensus in order for a block to push through for that the transaction will be recorded. Again, who is that validators? Who is that nodes? In a closed blockchain, as opposed to a public blockchain, you don't know who they are. Do they have 16 nodes, 5 nodes, 10,000 nodes? We never know. And I think if you approach CBDC, you need to look in a more contextual basis. And that's why you understand that. So it's not about yes, in the sense that it's a convenience that people get it, but I think eventually it's going to hit you because of this. I don't know who's going to sit as the validators. I don't know who they are. Are they the banks? Are they the brokerage firms? I don't know who they are. And therefore, because of the 51% consensus modeling that generally adopts in a blockchain, how would they then vote the programming of the CBDC to profit who? The user of the token or the nodes and validators? We will never know. And I think in matter of time is that eventually when the convenience is there, you begin to find that the freedom is lost. And that's when people realize that it's not as great as it is.
All right, thank you, Ida. Let's get back to cryptocurrency. All right, we all know that internet was founded somewhere in 1983, probably January, February 1983. And it took over 22 years for it to reach 1 billion users, which is in 2005, all right? So that is 22 years. So how do you guys, maybe this, I direct the question to Dato' Arai. As someone who has been around since early days of Bitcoin days, how long would you think that cryptocurrency user or slash adopter will reach that 1 billion mark of user? And why?
Okay, first of all, I think we're still in infancy stage. We're still early on this. But I can see lots of commitment, lots of innovation come into the situation on the market right now. So, in fact, we have to see lots of experiments, failed projects like FTX, Luna, Terra. So
that's just a scam.
yeah, that lots of projects have learned a lot. As a consumer, we learn a lot. So based on that, there's going to be a similar project in the future. So for me, lots of people, as you said, 90% not knowing how to buy crypto, how to buy the right way on how to store crypto. Even everyone not a technical person for that. So we need lots of education, we need a lot of support from the government and financial institutions to understand about the technology itself. Yeah.
So Marvin, just to into continuation of what Dato' Arai just said, do you think that we should have a compulsory subject to be taught in our school or higher learning institution so that we can roll out this even more better and efficient in the sense that, because we want people to understand the layer of the technology, so that in order, when people understand, I think it's easier for people to make a better decision not to get cheated or to be involved in a project that close to scam. So what do you think?
Got it.
What is your take on this,
So
Marvin?
I think education is a big part to play in onboarding more people, but people should realize this, that Bitcoin is just a piece of technology. What do I mean by that? There are adoption curves. If you look at also the demographic of how at least how it is here in Southeast Asia, majority of the people here are relatively younger. They're digital native. There will come a point in time where all of these people that are born in this era only know how to transact digitally. It's not a question of if adoption will happen. It's only a question of when, because it's
When
there will-
and how fast, right?
and how fast it is. So either it becomes in a way that it's institutional, or people get educated and it becomes relatively faster, or there's an event like COVID that accelerates people into going into the digital space. But I'm confident that over a period of time, people will learn more about it. Because if you look at the curve, it hasn't stopped to digress. It's even faster, and you superimpose it as compared to adoption about the smartphone and the internet. In terms of the number of users that are getting onboarded, the number of Bitcoin wallets, there's more Bitcoin wallets. The years it took to get more Bitcoin wallets versus the smartphone or versus the internet, Bitcoin has been faster. So if it follows that curve, then it would be relatively faster than the internet or smartphone. So the question is, at least to people that are here, would you be waiting for everyone to understand it before you really double down on it? Or you take the time right now to know what it is, how game-changing it is, and spend a lot of time to build something on top of it? Because I really believe that as what technology is, it doesn't go back, it just moves forward. And it will move with or without us being part of it.
And Ida, you have something to say on top of it?
Oh, yeah. Okay, we're talking about cryptocurrency, so I'm going to actually split it, all right? Bitcoin is Bitcoin and the non-Bitcoin, okay? Touching on Bitcoin, there is a halving incidence, which basically means scarcity is going to hit in. And because of that, my take is that Bitcoin is going to be a reserve fund going forward. It's more going to be indexed as a hedge because
So there
of
will
that.
be more country like El Salvador.
Yep. So, I'm not going to touch on that one, okay? But basically, in terms of trading, that is because of it is losing its. There not going to be more minting of Bitcoin. Let's put it this way, all right? So, and judging from the value that it has, going forward, I believe that it's going to be an index fund. Then it brings you to the non-Bitcoin related cryptocurrencies, the future. Given what's happening and how the maturing of the industry is, that I believe is that people is now going to pursue value. And they are going to look at the tokens as opposed to a coin and see how they can participate in a token to extract a value that is attached to that token that is related to the project or the technology. And I believe that is really going forward. We have seen with the FTX collapse and all these things collapsing, having a degens running around is actually killing the market. So that's why I think in the future, this is how it's going to move, and this is how the market is going to mature.
All right. I've also got a cue to wrap things up. So to wrap things up, maybe Dato' Arai, you can simplify in one-liner why crypto is going to be around instead of something that some quarters saying that it will get washed down, which I don't believe so. You know, like Ida would say, Bitcoin is one thing, and the rest is whatever that is future. You know, despite having said that, we all know 99% of the cryptos are really scams. But we're talking about the genuine product, Dato'. So why would cryptocurrency will still be around? Just in a simple one-liner.
Okay, I don't want to wrap too long. So I just want to say that it is the first ever in our history that every person can own an asset by their own hands. That's the most important thing first
Very
ever in
fundamental,
our
yeah.
history. And it will change totally, not only financial and all other industry too. Health industry, property, and lots of more. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a good one. Marvin?
So there's a lot of ways to go about it from a technology and even from a Bitcoin bigger perspective. So this is what I believe. The platforms or the projects that will do something that changes the status quo or makes things easier for a lot of people. And I've been harping on this over and over, especially for the Philippines, that the biggest problem here, there's a lot of people that are unbanked. So if there's a project that can move forward and help people, loans, remittances, it allows them to be able to transact in an easy way that addresses a real problem, not just an idea, but a problem that's addressed and executed well. I think those are the projects that will be there, because there's so many ideas in crypto, from the metaverse to NFTs to different smart contract blockchains. There's a lot, but I think execution will be king.
Still back to the basic, what matters is to solve the genuine problem, right? To address that with this technology that we have today, right?
Yeah, because there's no use making a project if it doesn't solve anything. At the end of the day, there are certain things that may sound good, but if it doesn't solve a real life need, a real business issue, then it's not gonna, it may sound good or it may be something that may be appealing, but what will make it last is people genuinely use it without any fluff, without any hype, but it's something they will use on a day-to-day basis. So there.
Thank you. Ida?
Whatever they say, I agree. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Philippine Blockchain Week. See you next year.